In this video, we will be creating our very first playbook. There are online YAML tools you can use to create playbooks, and that is for those who do not have much experience with VI Editor or Vim Editor. So when you log into the Linux machine, you would have to use a VI or Vim editor to create playbooks. But if you do not know how to use that, then the tools that are available for you are like onlineyamltools.com or codebeautify.org. You could also download tools on Windows such as Notepad++, create your YAML file, and then you could copy it over to the Linux system. All right. So before we actually get into creating our very first playbook in our lab environment, the best thing to do is that we take a snapshot because we have installed Ansible software. So we have taken the snapshot when we installed Linux already. Now we will take a second snapshot after we have completed the Ansible software install. So this way, if we make a mistake, we could go back to either the point when we did the Ansible software install or the Linux software install. All right, so for that, we'll go to our Oracle Virtual Manager, and here we'll have a Linux install point. Okay, our machine is running already. That's okay. You could leave it running and you could click on take and type in the name Ansible install dash point. Now, of course, you could pick any name that will remind you where you or when you took the snapshot. All right, click OK. All right, this is going to be a lot faster, of course, but not as fast as if the machine is powered off. All right, so now you have two snapshots here. You could go back to any one of them when you make a mistake. All right, so that is done. You could go ahead and close this. Now let's go and see what first playbook we are writing. All right, the first thing we have to do is become root. Now you could run playbook as a root user or a normal user. So it doesn't really matter. What matters is what it commands or what function that playbook is going to do. If playbook is going to update your system with the yum update, then of course you need to have that playbook being run or created as a root. All right. What we'll do is we'll create a directory in Etsy Ansible and we call it playbooks. This is where we keep all our playbooks throughout this course. And then we'll cd into this playbook and we'll create our first YAML file and we'll name it first.yaml. Once we vim the file or edit the file, we'll define dash 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 three hyphens that will signify that this is a YAML file. Then we'll define the name of the playbook, which is my first playbook. Then comes the host. Where do you want to run this task or this playbook? We will start off with just localhost. Then the task, what exactly you want it to do. If you notice, the task is right below, the indentation is right below name and host. That matters a lot. It cannot be before or few spaces before the host or name. So what the name of the task is test connectivity. And now if you pay close attention, the name, the hyphen is right below the task, the T. It can move to the right if you want to, and the corresponding modules is going to be right below it. You cannot have that hyphen before the spaces of the task or the T. All right, the module that we're going to run is the ping module. And again, you notice that ping module is right below the name of the task. All right, let's go into our Linux machine. Right here is a Linux machine. And before we do anything, let's create a snapshot, which we already did, by the way. Sorry. Yes, we have taken our snapshot. Now go ahead and become root, which I am already root. Yes, when I do ID, it shows I am root. Okay, let's make a directory, Etsy Ansible playbooks. This is the directory we will create all our playbooks. Let's cd into the directory. Let's create our first YAML file. Define that it's a YAML file. Put the name my first playbook. Now you could put this double quotes or no quotes, it doesn't really matter. Now when you hit enter, you're going to notice one cool thing of using Vim Editor that it will bring you right below where it should be, and that is under the name. And right here, you define the host where you want to run this YAML file against, and we'll run it against the local host. Now, when you hit enter, it'll bring you back to the host. We could leave a space, an empty line to make it look more neat and organized. Come down right here, you define tasks, what exactly you want this playbook to do. The task, now when you hit enter, it will bring you the it will do the indentation for you and move your cursor to the right. Now you could go back and start your indentation right here if you want to. That's fine. Or you could let the Vim editor decide where it's going to be. That's fine. Name. And what is the name of this playbook? Sorry, this tasks. That task will test the connectivity of the local host. And the module that it will use to test the connectivity will be ping module. And that's pretty much it. Hit escape and save the file. Now the file is saved. Now let's do a few checks. Check syntax of playbook. You have to check to see if there are no syntax errors. You could run this command or you could do a dry run, which is Ansible-playbook. Once the check is complete, then you could run the playbook by running the simple Ansible-playbook command. All right, let's go back to our Linux machine and we'll check the syntax first. So that would be Ansible-playbook dash dash syntax dash check first YAML file. All right, it's telling it the host list is empty, only localhost is available. That is fine. It is only telling you that it's not seeing any hosts in the etc Ansible host file. So that's fine. Now let's do the same thing. Instead of syntax check, we'll do just check, which will run as if it's you running the actual file, but it won't do anything. It will just tell you the syntax looks good and perfect. Nice. Now we will run the actual playbook, and that is Ansible. Sorry, Ansible dash playbook. And if you are inside of the playbooks directory where the playbook is located, then you could simply put in the name of the playbook. If you are somewhere else, then you have to put in the absolute path. All right, let's run it. Now it's going to check against the local host. It's going to ping it and it's going to tell it everything looks good. Local host task is good. Test connectivity is good. All look good. Now let's go back to our VI editor and go to our playbook. And let's say if we move this one space back accidentally, right? And then come back down here. And now we run our Ansible playbook. Right here, you see it's giving you error message. The error appears to be in etc Ansible playbook first.yaml file, line 3, column 2, but maybe elsewhere in the file depending on the exact syntax. See, indentation matters a lot. So if you go back to it and you move this one step over, then it should run fine. When you run it, it will give you that message that everything looks good. Same way, if you go back to the Vim editor and you move this right here, and now you run it, it will give you that error message again because the ping is not aligned to the name. So for that, you can move this 3-4 steps back. That's fine, but ping has to be exactly aligned where the name is. Now when you run it, it should be okay. There you go. See, it is running fine. There are no issues. Beautiful. All right, so that's what our first Ansible playbook is. Now we wrote the playbook, but if you didn't want to write the playbook, if you remember, we ran the ping module without a playbook, and it was just Ansible, and we ran it against localhost -m module. That is if you do not want to write a playbook and you run it ad hoc command, by the way, which we will cover later on. All right, moving on, please note Running Ansible without a playbook, you will just run the script Ansible. And running Ansible with the playbook, then you have to define that playbook or the location of the playbook. For that, you will run the command Ansible dash playbook, sorry, and then space followed by the Ansible playbook location. All right, so congratulations, you created your first playbook, and we will go on and create a lot more playbooks from this point on.